Alright guys, so as some of you know, we recently made a video talking about camera sliders, and especially the one that we received by Newer, which is the Newer ER1, which is honestly a really cool slider, especially within the $250–300 range. It's really nice. However, if you want something that has a bit more features, or if you want something that's a bit smaller but can have an extension to become bigger, or if you just want to see what's on the higher end of the market of camera sliders, we do have another camera slider in today to make reviews. The brand that reached out to me to send their camera slider is a brand that is called ZEAPON. So we have the box open. Again, this thing is definitely packaged very, very well, very secure, making sure that nothing is damaged when it comes. And wow, so this is the box that it comes in. This is the ZEAPON Micro4 motorized camera slider. The box opens up like this, and wow, does this thing come in a nice carrying case. But yeah, obviously a lot smaller compared to the Newer ER1, but yeah, this thing is definitely packaged very, very nice, and you can just tell that the quality is there. But this is more of an aluminum based slider, so I am curious to see if it can be just as smooth as some of the other sliders that I have used. These are the support brackets from the slider end, so obviously you just attach this to the end of the slider, and then, or actually no, so okay, so you attach this part, which is this little 3/8 head, I think. So yeah, so you screw this into the slider, and then with this bracket at the bottom, this is what you attach to the tripod leg. So for something like my Peak Design tripod, which is what I'm using right now, I can attach this to the bottom of the leg, have this attached to the slider, and yeah, like there's obviously various ways that you can kind of rig this, and this is also a ball head on the top, so you know, you do have some swivel and some movement of how you want it to be attached to the slider. Alright guys, so it's been about a week since I've had the Micro4 slider, especially since you guys saw the unboxing, and I do have some updates and kind of just like some concerns talking about the Micro4 slider. A lot of the imagery that they showed me of the slider had like the pan and tilt head, which is like one of the main features that I wanted to go over with the ZEAPON Micro4 slider, because, you know, obviously for the value, I thought that, you know, it's a much better bargain compared to something like the really, really expensive ones, or obviously a reason to go for kind of like the mid to high tier budget type of sliders that ZEAPON sells. And another thing that threw me off during the unboxing was that there was not a battery included with the slider, because as you guys can see on the side of it, it does take in the MPF batteries, which is the exact same as the Newer ER1. So literally for like the past few days of me using the slider, let me see if I can find it. Yeah, so literally for like the past week of me using the slider, I've actually just been using the battery that came with the Newer ER1, because this is like the only NPF battery that I have on me right now here in LA. Obviously, I do have a few more of these batteries back in my hometown in Sacramento, but you know, down here in LA, I didn't have a battery. So I was like, okay, well, if you're buying a slider for the type of price that ZEAPON is charging you for, I feel like it would just make sense to include a battery with it. But the nice thing about the ZEAPON Micro4 slider that I realized later is that you can actually power it also through USB PD. So personally, I do have power delivery chargers, and also just connecting it to an outlet. You just want to make sure that it is USB PD capable. So I was like, okay, at least there is still a way to power it. So it wasn't too big of a deal, but it was kind of a concern, because I'm like, if you are spending this much on a slider, it would be worthwhile to like throw in a battery. Huge shout out to them for sending me out the Pons PT, which I literally have right here in this box. So I'll do a quick unboxing of it, kind of just going through it. When it comes to the case, the exact same as the motorized unit and the slider itself. So obviously, you know, when you're packing up your gear, you know that if you have this kind of case, it is part of the slider and it's part of ZEAPON's branding, because obviously they do have their logo embossed on the case as well, which again, I have to give them credit. I think they do a great job with their casing. I feel like some companies just don't give enough time or attention that it needs for it as well. So it is nice that ZEAPON is doing that. So inside the box, you guys can see that we have the pan and tilt head units right here. So let me check it out. So this is, I believe, okay, so here we have the base of where you attach your camera to. So pretty much you can just screw it on, and then here is kind of your Y-axis, which again needs to take in another MPF battery, which by the looks of it, let's see, is a big thing. Okay, just as I thought. So again, they don't include an MPF battery. So this, I believe, is going to be the tilting base. So this is going to rotate your camera left and right, whereas this is going to be more so of kind of like your Y-axis of the pan and tilts. And then obviously you can do a lot of things in terms of the type of moves that you can do. You know, you can do infinity roll kind of shots. You can go from, you know, looking at one side of the corner to the room to the other side. So there's a lot of ways that you can integrate this. And especially when you have the slider, the Micro 4 slider, and especially if you keep it on certain tilts, especially vertically, then you can go all sorts of crazy with the type of camera movements that you can do. And it's just going to make your camera movement and your cinematography just more interesting. So whether you're doing product commercials or if you're doing short films, having things like this, having sliders, having, you know, these pan and tilt heads really gives you more motivation and more interesting camera movement that the audience would really appreciate. So it's like small details like that, but those small details really go a long way for like getting people invested into your content. So guys, as you can see, we're back here in the studio. I'm back home for Thanksgiving break, but we officially wrapped production on all 3 short films this semester here at USC. It was absolutely insane for a lot of it, especially just having pretty much like about a month to go from pre to post-production for 3 high-level short films. And I'm so excited to be screening the film within the next couple of weeks. So probably by the time that this video is uploaded, it's probably pretty close to when we're actually screening the film. So I'm so excited to share that film with my fellow peers and just the people that were part of the production and just everything part of USC. But of course, USC does maintain the rights to the short film. But if any of you guys are interested to check out the short film, definitely let me know. I'm trying to see if there's a way for me to at least like share it in a way where it still is fine with the policies, but I gotta figure out the whole situation. But of course, getting back into the video, talking about the ZEAPON Micro 4 slider, which obviously we did use this slider for my short film, especially when you have everything working, it is so nice. And also the ZEAPON app is what you connect it to. So right now I do have all of the, I do have the slider, I have the Pons PT, and I do have the plate, all of the heads connected to the application. And also, and again, it's just super easy to work with, like literally the pan and tilt. You know, you just slide it and again, it just does it. So honestly, it's a really cool process. Everything just works really seamlessly together. And also again, if I just want to tilt up, tilt down, you guys can see even this motor right here, it just works really well. It's super responsive. And it's definitely just so nice to have something that's so well interconnected. But that's the one thing about the ZEAPON is that, you know, you have brands like Edelkrone and some really expensive brands that obviously charge a lot of money, whereas like this, I would say, is definitely like that mid-tier option. If you really do take a closer look at their lineup of products that they sell, they actually have some really high-end options as well. So especially if you are working with bigger cinema cameras, because obviously something like this is not geared for like my Canon C80 or the Canon C400 or any like actual big cinema cameras. Like this is definitely geared for your mirrorless cameras or your small compact cinema cameras like the FX3s, the new Canon C50. Like this is the slider for those cameras. And also at the moment, I don't have a camera on it right now because I actually did sell my Sony FX3. So currently at the moment, I don't have my Sony FX3 anymore, and I am officially moving away from the Sony ecosystem, and I will be getting the Canon C50 within the next couple of weeks. So I'm officially just going to be locked into the Canon ecosystem. Being able to control it with the app is so nice. Like literally, I can even show you guys. And now all we have to do is that you can also keep it on a loop. So now we have the loop turned on. So for example, if I set this up for podcasting and if I just want to have like my small mirrorless or small compact cinema camera on here, and I just want this to be able to get some nice movement in terms of the interview, whether it's just focused on one person or it's focused on 2 people, now I can just have this thing on a loop and literally we can just have the slider going back and forth, and all of the 3 motors, like the side motor, the bottom motor, and of course the slider motor, are all connected, working together to just get this seamless movement. And again, like as you guys can tell, the acceleration curve on the ZEAPON is also so much better fine-tuned compared to the newer, where like when it stops at one point, it'll kind of jerk a little bit and then it'll start moving back. Whereas like this, it has a very nice gradual acceleration curve. If I had to choose between the newer ER1 and the ZEAPON within my arsenal, and if I had to be like, okay, I can only take one and I can only use one, even though the Micro 4 slider technically doesn't give you the same range as the ER1, it's a little bit bigger, not by a whole lot. I think the newer ER1 is like maybe a few centimeters wider in terms of its range of how far it can go, but mainly because this thing can technically go much faster than the newer ER1 is probably the biggest reason why I would choose the ZEAPON Micro 4 slider over the newer ER1. Definitely there are a lot of times where I've experienced issues with the ZEAPON Micro 4, but their support team is really good, and anytime that I have an issue, they're super quick to respond. Definitely really happy with this one, and definitely going to be using it a lot more in my production. So if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And again, way more videos coming down the line. Again, just because after this semester, since I finished my short film and the other short films that I had to do a part of this semester, I'm finally like starting to get more time to actually get back into creating videos for you guys, and there is a whole pipeline of videos that I'm totally backlogged on and that I just need to get back into. So really excited to get back into making videos for you guys. So make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Take it easy. Peace.